Happy Sabbath, boys and girls. How many of you like to go camping, like to be outside? Nature, God's nature, beautiful, awesome. The story I'm going to be sharing with you guys today deals with a boy and his dad who went on a camping trip. And as I read to you, I'm going to show you a few pictures. This is from a book, Uncle Arthur's Best Stories. Okay, and this story is entitled Wayne and the Wolves. Here you see a picture of beautiful lake, the mountains behind. Wayne was as excited as a boy could be. Dad was going on a camping trip, and he had just told him that he could go along as well. He always loved to go on trips with his dad, but to go away with him for a whole week, this seemed too good to be true. What's more, they were going to sleep in a tent and cook their own food over the campfire. How many of you boys and girls like to sleep in a tent? How about a camper? Anybody? A little more comfortable, okay? The next few days were spent getting everything ready. The tent and the ground sheet, the blankets and the pillows, the pots and the pans and the dishes, the fishing rods, hooks, and bait. As the pile of things grew in the garage, Wayne could hardly keep himself from shouting aloud for joy. He was going camping in the mountains with his dad. At last, the day came. There were 4 in the party: Dad, 2 of his friends, and Wayne. They packed some of the things in the boot of the car, and the rest tied on the top. Then they were off to the mountains. They drove toward the mountains, then up, curving this way and through beautiful forests, until at last they were so high they were almost above the timberline. Now and then, as they looked down, they caught wonderful views of woodlands, lakes, and rivers far below. At last, they came to a beautiful lake hidden deep in the mountains. This, said Dad, was the place they had been heading for, although the best campsite was on the other side of the water. So they drove as far as they could, then unloaded it and carried the things around. At last, the tent was set up and the fire lighted to cook the evening meal. Anybody in this group like campfires? I love campfires. Awesome. Wayne was thrilled. It was all so different and so wonderful. He had never seen anything like it. The stillness of the lake, the sun setting, and great behind the great mountain peaks, the distant baying of wild animals. What is that noise? He asked Dad. It sounds like dogs barking, but there's no dogs up here in the mountains. Just wolves, said Dad. There are lots of them up in these mountains, but they won't bother us. They are a long ways off. Wayne desperately tried not to think of the wolves anymore, but now and then he could not stop to wonder a little bit. They might be a long ways off, he thought to himself as he went to sleep that night, but they could be nearer, couldn't they? But there, Dad and his 2 friends were in the tent with him, so why should he worry? And with this thought in mind, he went to sleep. The next day, they were all up early and set off to find the best place for fishing. Any fishermen in here? Anybody like to fish? I had a bad experience with fishing when I was little, but I hear it can be really fun, okay? Soon, all their lines were cast, and they were waiting for the first bite. They did not have to wait long. In fact, it seemed that this mountain lake was just full of fish, waiting to be caught. What a grand time they had. Wayne had never enjoyed himself so much before. He wished he could stay up there in the mountains for the rest of his life, but of course he could not. There was work to be done and school to attend. At last, the day came when they must leave the camp. The tent was taken down, and all the things were soon packed. Dad and his friends picked up the bundles and headed towards the car, with Wayne walking close beside them. Presently, Dad stopped. I don't see why we should carry all these things around the end of the lake, he said. Let's take a shortcut through the swamp. But Wayne could not go through the swamp, said one of the men. It's at least 1 meter deep. I'll tell you what, said Dad. The 3 of us will go through the swamp, get the car ready, and Wayne can walk around the swamp and meet us on the other side. After all, it's only 1 kilometer or 2. Is that okay with you, Wayne? Of course, said Wayne, and I'll be there before you. Anybody in this group like to race? I know my kids like to race. Okay, good. The men laughed, for they knew he could not possibly beat them. Then they all parted. Wayne started off, his path leading him through some very wild country. He did not mind being alone, of course, but he did not like that sound, the baying of wolves. Somehow it seemed to be much nearer than Dad had said it was. He hurried on, determined to get to the car before the others. Pressing his way through low shrubs and clambering over rocks, he reached the end of the lake and started around the other side. Suddenly, something in front of him froze him in his tracks. What was it? Running toward him down the mountainside was a pack of wolves. There were 17 of them altogether. Wayne counted them, frightened though he was. They were big, ugly-looking brutes, and the very sight of them almost made his heart stop. On they came, their jaws snarling. There was a big rock nearby, and Wayne tried to climb it, hoping to get out of their way. He could not get a foothold, and down he slid again. Now the wolves were nearer, still nearer. Then Wayne did a strange thing. I wonder if you would have done the same with 17 wolves chasing after you. He closed his eyes and prayed. He said, "Dear Lord, do not let these wolves harm me. Please make them go away." Those 17 wolves came within 10 feet of Wayne. He could look right into their eyes and almost down their throats. Then something happened. I don't know what it was. Neither does Wayne. But he told himself that all of a sudden, those wolves turned tail and dashed back up the mountain. Here's Wayne praying, right on the side. What made them do it? Could they have caught a glimpse of Wayne's guardian angel? The wolves having gone, Wayne went on his way again. Soon, he was back at the car where Dad and his friends were waiting anxiously for him. "What kept you?" they asked. "Why did you take so long?" Then he told them all that had happened and how Jesus had come to his rescue just in time. Once again, the picture here. So boys and girls, every day in your lives, you're going to face a difficult challenge, right? Something's going to be hard. Always keep Jesus close in the good times and the bad. Always talk to him daily as your friend, okay? He'll be there for you when you need it. Guys, have a great Sabbath. You can go back to your seats.